Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling chant down Babylon kingdom. Natty make we chant down Vatican now.
What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. This is episode 174, ladies and gentlemen. We are calling this bad boy simply King. My plan was to call this episode King, and then once King Bobby Green defeated Drew Dober, as I predicted last week, then it would be validated. And when that did not happen, I figured I would not waver from that because Bobby Green is a beast. All right, yeah, he was defeated last night. We're gonna talk about that in a second. But he looked great out there. He was fucking styling on Drew Dober up until the point that the fight was over. So we are calling this Bad Boy 174 in honor of the veteran King Bobby Green. Actually, this whole fucking episode kind of revolves around Bobby Green, if I'm being honest. Because we're going to talk about UFC Vegas 66. I'm not going to stay here long. This room, if I'm in this room too long, it seems like I started to get real stuffy and shit. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to vacuum or some shit. I don't have, I got this, air purifier or whatever that shit is over there. I be having that shit on. Don't really seem to be working, because if I'm in here for too long, maybe 3 hours or some shit, if I'm in this room, I start to get all stuffy and shit. So this was the last UFC fight card of the year. Won't have another card for next year. I figured, with that being said, for 4 weeks, we essentially won't have a card. So with that being said, we're just going to talk about UFC Vegas 66 here today, headlined by Jared Cannonier and Sean Strickland. And I'm probably maybe going to talk about Islam Makhachev. All right? Something in an interview with Bobby Green that came to my attention, and I was like, fuck, how did I miss this? And if I did miss it, maybe I didn't quite understand what I was hearing. If I did see that, I didn't understand what I was hearing until Bobby was putting it into context with everything. And then I was like, oh shit, that's kind of very easy to believe and very easy to see it in action. Holy fuck, everybody has the same reaction. So we're going to talk about that, I guess. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. This is episode 174. If you guys want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast, I'd appreciate that so much. If you guys are on Twitch and you like to follow your boy, you like to see your boy playing with himself, head on over to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys... I breeze through this shit, but it's just I don't know, it feels like just things I need to say. I'm not trying to I want it to be legible. If you niggas want shit, want to follow the podcast on Twitch or whatever, do it. I hope you do it. Very sorry for my behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for speeding through that. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/Babylon5pod-shop, ladies and gentlemen. And if you guys would like to be my patrons, not just my Niji, head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod. I figured out, if you guys are watching the video on YouTube, I figured out, how to get my notes on the screen here, or I just came to my attention that my phone and everything links directly with my fucking Mac Mini. All that shit is just automatically there. I didn't realize that. But I was like hesitating to say some shit because, you know, my vision ain't what it used to be, ladies and gentlemen. From this far, I'm like, what the fuck does that say? I've tried to make it. I've tried to make this font bigger, and like, it's like it doesn't fucking matter how big I make this font. I just can't fucking see it. I just can't make it out from this distance. You know, that test they do. When I was a child, I passed that shit with flying colors. Get everything. Get everything from the bottom to the top, my nigga. Or from the top to the bottom. You know how we usually do it. But I would get everything back in the day. And I say about like 6-7 months ago, shit started getting blurry, as I'm sure I've talked about here. But maybe not even that long ago, honestly. Because when it really started to, like, affect me, I was like, yo, I got to get some glasses. And I went and got those immediately. I want to say maybe, like, 4 months ago is when my vision really started to get shitty. It used to be perfect. It was better than other niggas. I used to be like, I was looking at niggas the other day. I'm like, these are young people with glasses, nigga. Just use your young-ass perfect eyes. But no, they young. I never really understood... I used to hide niggas' glasses and shit back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I used to hide niggas' glasses. Now I'm sitting here like, what the fuck is that over there? What the fuck is that? Without my glasses, I can't... Nigga, if it's kind of... Not even far away, like... Not that far away, I can't even make out what the fuck that is anymore. My shit went away right away. It's no wonder I'm... It's no wonder them niggas was like, you about to get glaucoma. Because I was like, shit, my vision went to shit immediately. And she's like, yeah, nigga, you going blind. I was like, I believe it. I fucking believe it. UFC Vegas 66, the last fight card of the year, ladies and gentlemen. We had a lot of good fights on this card. A lot of good fights. I wish I had queued up. Maybe I do have it. No, I don't have it queued up. I wish I had queued up. There we go. Topology, my favorite website, ladies and gentlemen. That is my favorite website. That's where I spend most of my time. You know, when I was on Facebook back in the day, I was thinking like, I would think like, what the fuck did I used to do on the internet before Facebook? And it's like, potentially MySpace, and it's like, what did I do before that shit, or what other things did I do? And I couldn't really figure it out. I couldn't really figure it out. Other than I was on them forums a lot. I was on a lot of hip hop blogs. I was a heavy blogger back in the day, but I'm not really into that these days. I mean, I tweet. That's kind of like being on the forums in a way. But now, since I'm off Facebook, Tapology, reading up on fighters, is my favorite website, ladies and gentlemen. We had some bangers on this fucking card. Makhachev looks like an absolute monster. Alright? He looked like a fucking monster. His striking is just beautiful and just... So precise. He was fucking up that body. He had this, what was it, a Kimura? Oh my god, I thought he was gonna break that dude's arm. That motherfucker, David Dvorak, he's fucking tough as shit for not tapping. I thought that arm was gonna break. It was nuts. But Makhachev looked like a fucking monster in there. Yeah, I'm excited to watch this guy going forward. If you didn't check out this guy's fight, go ahead and do so. Renat Fakhretdinov absolutely mauls Brian Battle. All right, Ultimate Fighter winner, the last Ultimate Fighter winner, Brian Battle. He just got absolutely manhandled. I mean, he wasn't finished, so my hat's off to Brian Battle because he couldn't really get anything off. He was being smothered at every second by Renat here. So this guy looks like he could be a problem, but he was fighting someone with like Renat's coming in here at like 19-1, and Brian Battle's record was 9-1. All right, it's a huge experience level, and we already knew. If you watch the tape, Renat was a monster coming into this. He was a terrible matchup he's a bad matchup for everybody. He's one of those guys. All right, I was talking on Twitter about how foolish it was that I saw that Nav at the end of that nigga's name, and I didn't pick him. All right? Didn't pick him. I picked Saeed Yokub Kakramanov to beat Saeed Nurmagomedov. That was a great fight. Saeed Nurmagomedov came up on top, but Saeed Yokub Kakramanov was doing to Saeed what every fucking Dagestani fighter usually does. Just fucking mauls them. All right? What Renat was doing in there, that's what those Ovs, that's what they usually do. And Saeed Yokub Kakramanov was absolutely mauling. He's mauling fucking Saeed Nurmagomedov. No relation to Habib, but they're friends. He's mauling this man, and then Saeed Nurmagomedov was able to get a choke off on him, and Saeed Yokub Kakramanov said that he didn't respect his jiu-jitsu. He didn't respect the submission attempt because he was able to get out of like a few other attempts earlier in the fight. So he didn't respect the skill level of Nurmagomedov. But that was a great fight. It's 2 rounds, I believe, and that was a great fight. Saeed Yokub Kakramanov, as I told you guys when he debuted, is a monster and somebody to look out for. Even with the loss here, I think that guy is still going to be a problem for everybody. He was definitely a problem for Saeed Nurmagomedov. Even though he won that fight, he was exhausted by the end of that. Kakramanov was all over that man, just nonstop pressure, all over this man. So keep a lookout for Saeed Yokub Kakramanov, because that dude is going to be a problem. Backing up on the card, you got Rafa Garcia, who fought Makhachev. And, Rafa Garcia, man, he's just a beast. He's just a beast, all right? He's a tank, 5'7", so strong. Everybody was fucking freaking out on Twitter because this man apparently, he lost like 20% of his blood. He lost 20% of his blood. He's bleeding all over the place. Apparently, Makhachev hit him with an elbow on the side of his head and it fucking split an artery. It took them over 2 hours to stop the bleeding. Lost 20% of his blood. And people were freaking out like, oh my God, so much blood. And it's like, my nigga, this is fighting. All right? If that bothers you, you're watching the wrong fucking sport. Matt Semmelsberger, this was a good-ass card. Matt Semmelsberger versus Jake Matthews was a great fight. Matt Semmelsberger, fucking powerful. He's powerful. Just dropping Jake Matthews, just hurting him with the right and the left. He's pretty powerful. He's a good dude. That was a good-ass fight, dude. I'd like to go back. I'm looking at this like, fuck, I'll go back and watch this whole goddamn card. I didn't mention Sergey Morozov versus Journey Newson. I didn't mention that fight because I was at work, or I had just finished work, and I like drove home like right as that fight was going on. So I didn't get to see that one. I want to go back and check that out. I'm sure it's a great fight. You had Corey McKenna versus Cheyenne Vlismas, and somehow Cheyenne Vlismas was the favorite in this. And I said right away when Corey took Cheyenne down, who couldn't stop a single leg to save her life against Ruiz, against Montserrat, the rabbit. And then remember, she was like, I'll follow you to your car, bitch, and all that. She was so pissed off because she kept taking her down. Like, it was just pretty silly. So then I tweeted out, like, if Corey takes her down again, she's gonna follow her home. They got a decent amount of love there, because if you know, this woman can't stop a single leg to save her life. And she could not. Right before the third round was starting, Cheyenne Vlismas yells out to Corey McKenna, "Why not try striking with me this round?" She was begging Corey McKenna to please don't take me down. Stand up and strike with me. Corey's just laughing at her. And Corey proceeds to take her down and win that fight. Cheyenne Vlismas has a huge gaping hole here in her game. And this has been, we saw it with Ruiz. And coming into this fight, Corey McKenna, we know that she's a great grappler. Like, we know that that's her game. And that's the obvious weakness for Cheyenne Vlismas. I don't understand how Cheyenne was the favorite. I don't understand. I'd say the only way it kind of made sense was in the first round because Corey McKenna chose to stand and strike with Cheyenne for some reason. And then by the second round, she was like, oh, you niggas forgot I was Dagestani. She took her down and ragdolled her. So, are there women in Dagestan? There must be. How are there no fighters coming? There's got to be female fighters coming out of Dagestan or something. And maybe I'm crazy. Maybe the laws, it's like a Muslim country. Maybe they're not allowed to train or something. I don't know. Well, probably not, right? Because if I could be 100% wrong, but I remember this one time I was talking to these people and they were telling me how, like, they're only allowed to touch their husband. They can't touch, like, another dude. So, like, they can't be out there rolling and doing jujitsu with a nigga, with any niggas, you know what I'm saying? Like, other than their husband and other women. As far as I'm concerned, it'd probably be pretty hard to not to get that training in grappling, striking, like all sambo, all that shit without a fucking person touching you. Like, it's kind of impossible. So maybe that's the reason. I don't believe men have the same rules. I don't think they have the same restriction. I think Khabib can, like, shake somebody's hand. He can, like, shake another woman's hand and say hello, I believe. I'm not sure how that works. I could be 100% wrong there. But shout out to Corey McKenna for dominating Cheyenne Vlismas with that obvious fucking weakness in her game. You also had Michael Oleksiejczuk defeating Cody Brundage. I didn't understand. I don't know, man. There was, like, so many people were like, yo, Cody's about to dominate him. I'm like, dude, Oleksiejczuk's super powerful. He's great everywhere. Yeah, Brundage was able to take him to the ground, but, like, the second Oleksiejczuk had a chance to sweep him, he swept him, and the fight was pretty much over pretty soon after that. On the ground, finished him on the ground. Oleksiejczuk is known for his stand-up, but he finished him on the ground. Oleksiejczuk calls for a fight with Chris Curtis next. Sign me up. I'd love to see that fight. Oleksiejczuk is a monster. I don't think Chris Curtis, being ranked, should take that fight, but we'll see what happens. Unfortunately for me, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this episode is called King. We had Drew Dober versus Bobby Green, and Bobby Green for the first round was fucking styling on Drew Dober, just touching him up and just using that shoulder roll. And he was just out of there. That beautiful Philly shell that he's implemented into his MMA game. It's beautiful. He was styling all over this man. But in the second round, Drew Dober just kept that pressure on him and landed a perfect left hook that just knocks King Bobby Green out cold, unfortunately. Bobby wakes up pretty soon, though. It wasn't too bad. Woke up. I was just like, you son of a gun. So, fast recoveries to King Bobby Green. Hope to see him out there soon. I'd love to see Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. Why wouldn't we get that fight next? I mean, Bobby Green was just knocked out, and they're going to have that card in March, so I don't know if that's too soon to come back. Maybe he should take like 5 months off before he starts like hard sparring again. But I would love to see Bobby Green versus Paddy the Baddy Pimblett next. That would be beautiful. I see no reason why we can't have that fight, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Caceres, shout out to Alex Caceres for knocking out Julian Erosa in the very first round. I was trying to find this nigga online because I was like, this can't be him. I know his nickname is apparently Bruce Leroy, right? Alex Caceres' fucking nickname is Bruce Leroy. Jesus Christ. I couldn't believe it because I saw the Twitter handle and I was like, this can't be him because he spelled Bruce Leroy wrong. You know what I'm saying? If you guys know where he gets the nickname from, it's from the movie The Last Dragon. You got Shonuff and all them. Main character looks somewhat similar to Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, but he spelled Leroy wrong. And I'm like, is that on purpose? Was he trying to separate himself, or did he just fucking spell it wrong this whole time and has no fucking idea that Google exists? Or even like, I guess you kind of look similar. Maybe somebody called this nigga Bruce Leroy at some point, but why not spell it right? You got all this time. Has nobody mentioned it to this nigga? Like, hey bro, you spelled Bruce Leroy wrong. My nigga, you spelled it wrong. I just thought that was weird. Like, for years, like, probably, fuck. Unless you're a nigga like me who watched that movie like 1,000 times when I was a kid, you probably don't even know who the fuck Bruce Leroy is. You probably just think he's saying he's like Black Bruce Lee, right? That's probably what most fans are thinking when they hear that name, is like he's saying he's the Black Bruce Lee, so he's calling himself Bruce Leroy. They don't even understand the reference, all right? They don't even understand the reference. It just irks me because that was like my favorite movie as a child. I'm telling you, I watched that movie 1,000 times. Fucking The Last Dragon. That's why Lupe Fiasco was instantly like one of my favorite rappers, because he fucking referenced that movie like 1,000 times in his first couple albums. Like constantly referenced that movie. So yeah, that was pretty hype. But shout out to Caceres for that victory. Just address that name. Amir Albazi knocks out Alessandro Costa. I was looking at that, like, Albazi's ranked number 8. And Costa is not ranked at all. I thought that was pretty weird. Actually, yeah, that was his UFC debut. Not ranked, must have stepped in on short notice to fight the number 8 guy, and he gets knocked out. Alright, he gets knocked out in the third round? Uppercut to ground and pound. And then, as predicted, ladies and gentlemen, Arman Tsarukyan defeats Damir Ismagulov. Ismagulov, that boy is a great striker. He's a great boxer. He's super fast. Arman Tsarukyan, for whatever reason, was trying to strike with him early on in the fight just to have some respect, but it was like Damir was catching him with some shit. And he then decided to grapple him and do the damn thing, which is what he should have. Arman defeats Damir Ismagulov via unanimous decision. And he says that he is now on a 7-fight win streak because he did not actually lose his last fight to Mateusz Gamrot. And I agree, ladies and gentlemen. As I said here last week, he won that fight, and you can't tell a nigga no different. All right. So he's 7-0. He's calling to fight somebody in the top 5. I think he's a problem for everybody. Arman Tsarukyan is a problem for everybody at lightweight. Even Islam Makhachev. As you know, those two have fought before they fought to a decision. Islam fared very well in his UFC debut against Islam Makhachev, and it looks like he's definitely ready to take on that challenge again. I'd like to see him in there against anybody, dude. Fucking Fiziev, fucking Gaethje, throw him in there, man. Throw him in there. I'm a fucking huge Arman Tsarukyan stan. It's just how it is. It's how it's gonna be, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. So shout out to my boy Arman Tsarukyan on the victory, and hopefully he fights a top 5 guy next. Maybe even Dariush. Why not? Why not? I would like to see that. In the main event, of course, you had Jarrett Cannonier defeating Sean Strickland via was it split decision? Right? Yeah, because one of the judges scored it 49-46 for Strickland, and the other two judges scored it 49-46 for Cannonier. So via split decision. I'm like, is it a split decision? It gets right in your face. You're looking at it. It says decision split. Jarrett wins split. I scored it for Jarrett for whatever that means. If that means anything at all, I scored it for Jarrett Cannonier. It was an okay fight. I didn't think this was... I feel like we would have been cool with just 3 rounds of that fight and maybe put like... I don't know, man. Amir Albazi versus... No, I'm sorry. Arman Sarukian maybe in the main event. I mean, I don't know. I felt like this fight, to me, Jarrett Cannonier versus Sean Strickland doesn't scream to me like that would be fight of the night anywhere. I don't know if we needed to see that fight for 5 rounds. I'm not trying to hate, but it was an okay fight. Nice little way to end the fights for the year. So next week I'm going to try to talk about either like my favorite fights of the year, favorite cards of the year, maybe even talk about, I don't know, like the fighters I feel like will be the champion at the end of 2023. I need to go back and listen to who I said. I could just look at my notes and see who I said would be the champion at this time last year. I'm interested to see how I went with that. I think I probably said Charles. Would be lightweight champion. And I probably say Yuri. We don't have a champion at light heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? But I just got to go back and listen to that. We're going to talk about that next week, ladies and gentlemen. But that was a good card to end off on. A lot of good fights in there. So leading up to this fight, Bobby Green brought up in his pre-fight interview, he was like, nobody talks about this. Matter of fact, let me just play a little bit of the clip. Hopefully, play the audio.
Gosh, I don't know if I should do this.
This is Bobby Green.
I was around on my YouTube, right? And I found this little video, and it said Islam had a little trouble with drugs. But I don't see people talking about him, and so he was...
Okay, just to interject there, Islam did pop for PEDs, or for a substance. He popped for an illegal substance. And he said that I looked into it, and the shit, it had some benefits. It's illegal, but he took it apparently before it was deemed illegal. He took it before it was deemed illegal. It was prescribed to him by his doctor. So they ruled that he had no fault or negligence in it. He took it before it was illegal, is what they're claiming for that. But this second part here is where it's like, fuck.
That his school that he trained at in Russia, they just gave him vitamins, you know? They've been doing this since who knows when you start training.
So right there it says, so Islam speaking in Russian, he says Russian athletes on national teams were getting like vitamins. All right, vitamins. I was on the combat sambo team, so they gave him vitamins since he was a kid.
Imagine if you gave someone steroids.
And, he's coming from, and Bobby Green's point here is that he's from a place that was getting banned from the Olympics. You can't fly that flag here because you guys had statewide steroid programs for your athletes. And Islam is saying right here that when he was a kid, they gave all the national athletes vitamins, and he was on the national combat sambo team, and he got the vitamins. This is a place that got caught giving their Olympic athletes fucking steroids. Everybody, they get caught. And now you have Islam saying like, yo, they gave me vitamins since I was a kid. And Bobby Green's point here is like, just imagine if you gave somebody steroids from the age that they're 10 years old. Like, how fucking strong do you imagine that person would be if they've been taking steroids at 30? I think Islam is probably either 29 or 30 years old right now. Like 20 years of steroid use. You know what the main thing people say when they fight Islam Makhachev, which is the point here that Bobby's making. The one thing people say when they just even roll with Islam Makhachev is like, holy fuck, I've never felt someone so fucking strong. Bobby Green mentions like, no wonder there's videos of all these kids over there wrestling bears. Oh. I'm like, holy fuck. There's videos of these kids. They're like, oh, look at Khabib wrestling a bear when he was 10. Interesting. They are fucking grappling bears at 10 years old. And Islam is talking about, yeah, if you were on this team, if you were on one of the national sports teams, they gave you vitamins to make you better at sports. And then everybody got caught on steroids. This is nuts to me. And maybe I'm feeling some type of way as a type of nigga that said I thought Charles Oliveira was going to be champion at the end of 2022. You know, maybe I'm feeling some type of way. This is news to me. It looks, from when I was looking it up, it was like, damn, when he fought Charles, there's a lot of reports of this. A lot of people were bringing this back up, that he got caught for steroids back in like 2014. I didn't see that. I didn't see that until Bobby here brought it up. I just want to listen to see.
From the age of 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, how strong you would be. People were like he was really strong. It makes sense now. But I was like, with thousands of guys. That was interesting. I told my coach the same thing. There was something interesting about
he's like, he's rolled with thousands of guys, but that was interesting. He's like, there was something interesting in there, and I felt it. Yo, man, it's crazy. As I'm saying, I feel like all these motherfuckers are on steroids. There's no way most of these people are not on steroids. You can see who's not on steroids probably physically. Like, I look at fucking Ben Askren when he was out there at the end of his career. That guy, if that guy was on steroids, I'd be fucking shocked. Or honestly, maybe if he wasn't. Because he was one of those guys that is just known to be freakishly strong. But he didn't have like the physique of these motherfuckers. Francis Ngannou, over 300 pounds, got fucking 8-pack. You know what I'm saying? No steroids, okay. No steroids. John Jones popped how many times for fucking estrogen blockers and shit like that? No fucking steroids, alright? Get the fuck out of here. They're all on steroids. They're all on steroids. There's no fucking way, dude. There's no fucking way, bro, that they're not all on steroids. Yoel Romero's like 44. Has a 10-pack. He's in the best shape of his life. He's bigger now than he was when he was like 20 years old, wrestling for like the national team. He's like twice as big, just like The Rock. The Rock's like twice as big as he was when I was a kid, fucking watching him. If you smile, when I was watching that shit, The Rock was half the size that he is now. He's in his 50s. He's in his 50s and twice as fucking ripped. They're all on fucking steroids. I mean, at least the wrestling guys, you know that. You knew they were all. That's the whole point of this. Look at John Cena. You're telling me that motherfucker's not on steroids? Get out of here. Get out of here. They're all on steroids. Ever since Vince McMahon, when there was that trial in the 80s where he admitted, where Hulk Hogan was like, yeah, this nigga gave everybody steroids. Like, that nigga right there, Vince, gave everybody in his company steroids. And then this old-ass man come out here in his 60s with his shirt off. Fucking roided to the gills. If you've never seen what fucking Vince McMahon in his 60s looks like with his fucking shirt off on Muscle Magazine, or you get the fuck out of here. A steroid magazine. You should fucking at least tell me what you're taking. Tell me what you're taking. So if I want to achieve, I'm just repeating honestly what the guy from More Plates, More Dates was on Joe Rogan, and he's just like, they're talking about like all these people, all these fucking movie stars who, like the nigga that plays Thor and shit like that, and he was like, yo, they'll put out these fucking like, this is the diet and this is the exercise plan I did, but you also need to throw in what fucking steroid cycle you're using, because it's not like the fucking Liver King guy. You're not gonna achieve that naturally. Let me know, just be honest, and let me know what I need to take and what I need to look into in order to achieve that physique. And it's not natural. If it's not natural, it is what it is. If I choose to go there, but like to lie and try to say that these motherfucking people, look at Arman Sarukian. When I see that nigga, all right, he's like 26 right now, all right? This man's fucking like 24 in the UFC, fighting perfectly. Wrestling defensively great against Islam Makhachev, who, as I'm talking about right now, seems pretty evident is roided to the gills. But Arman Sarukian was matching that strength somehow. They're all roided to the gills. This is just further confirmation. Who else is roided? Connor, obviously. People were tweeting at him like, shut up and get into the USADA pool, the testing pool. And he was replying like, no. You know what I'm saying? His replies were, no, I won't get into the USADA testing pool. Because he's gained about 80 pounds of muscle. He's talking about, I just saw this nigga tweeting about how he's going to fight at middleweight. He's fucking huge. He can't make 155 pounds. He took all these steroids, and now he's talking about, for the first time ever, fighting at middleweight. This is obnoxious. All right? It's absolutely obnoxious. Who the fuck is a fair fight for Conor McGregor at 185 pounds? He's nuts if he feels like he can fight at middleweight. Dude, don't do it. You're getting knocked out in the first round, cold. Knocked out unconscious. Be the last fight for Conor. He'll be so fucking embarrassed. I don't see any comeback. It's just nuts. All right, they're all on steroids. And I could not believe that this was a fucking thing for Islam. And it's just out there, and everybody's just like, all right, whatever, it happened. It happened. That's silly to me. That's silly to me.
Gosh, I don't know.
Oh, shit. Play that again. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5Podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to hit that like button anywhere that you're listening to this podcast, I'd appreciate it so much. If you guys would like to watch your boy play with himself on Twitch, go to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niche, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5pod and you can be my patron today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for being here another week. If you're out here, if you're not, fuck you. I mean, if you're not here, you didn't hear that anyway. So we're going to go on as if it didn't happen. But as I said, thank you guys so much for being here another week. This is episode 174. King. Shout out to King Bobby Green. Even in defeat, he's styling on these motherfuckers. And I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. And I will see you when I see you. I'll holla.
Chant down Babylon kingdom, Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Bang the ling bling, chant down Babylon kingdom, Natty make we chant down Vatican now. Chant down Babylon kingdom, Natty make we chant down Vatican now.